Exit from the station. Please keep the floor unobstructed.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan here. So this is the 1-month review of the OMNI X1.
Switch to vacuum and mopping mode. Return to the station.
The X1 is jam-packed with features. For starters, got a front-facing camera, a 3D laser system, also a 3 microphone array, so it can listen to you with its voice assistant. Also, you got a hidden drawer for that 3-liter disposable bag. Now, you may have seen counter-rotating mopping pads on other brands like the Dreamy Tech, also on the Narwhal. I believe that was the first model that incorporated this technology. Now, what makes the X1 different from those two models is the fact it does have an onboard water tank. So yes, you can actually control the flow of water. The tank is quite small, around 110 milliliters, so once that tank empties out, it actually goes back to your docking station to refill that tank and also wash the mopping pad. Well, competition has been pretty fierce, especially for 2022. Roblox just released the S7 Max V Ultra, which is a direct competitor to the X1. Now, both roll-up vacuums are pretty impressive, and I personally tested both of them. But I would say the X1 actually has more features. For starters, has the ability to dry the mopping pad, also has the onboard voice assistant, a first for a roll-up vacuum. Ecovacs actually has 3 different versions of this model, the X1 Plus, X1 Turbo, and the X1 OMNI. Now, if you don't need self-emptying, the X1 Plus is a pretty good option, and I do have this model on my channel as well, which I'll review in a couple weeks or so. So, if you want the counter-rotating mopping pads, I would look at the X1 Turbo or the X1 OMNI, which offers both the self-emptying and self-washing. What's interesting is the X1 Plus only has the warm drying mopping feature, whereas the X1 OMNI has a hot drying feature. So basically, the drying times differ by a few hours. Alright, so it looks like the X1 is almost done. You can see there's still some coffee stains left, but for the most part, they did a pretty good job. And I would say if you have tougher stains, I definitely recommend just using the good old muscles. But for day-to-day tasks, just picking up the dirt and grime off your floors, the mopping system should work fine. Now, I do have it on its deep cleaning, so you can see it actually does 2 cleaning sessions or 2 runs. It does a crisscross section to help remove the leftover stains.
Start cleaning the mopping pads.
Okay, you go. Mop the kitchen.
Okay, start area cleaning.
I find this to be a very handy feature, especially if I got my hands tied, I don't have time to pull out my phone to activate the robot. Now, one thing to note is I have used voice assistants on other models like the iRobot system with Amazon. Unfortunately, it's not as reliable. Sometimes there's glitches, but with the onboard voice assistant, it works really well and it was very reliable. Now, earlier in this video, I talked about the carpet avoidance sensor while mopping. It does a pretty good job, but I kind of wish there was a way to turn it off or dial down the sensitivity, just in case I want to mop my lower mats. Well, eventually, the robot was able to make its way on one of the lower mats, so I guess I can't complain. I got half of the job done. These are kind of dull, so it's okay for me to use these scissors. But kids, don't play with scissors. Instruction manual, probably pretty important. Pretty cool styling. I think the top actually just comes right off, yes. And it's held on by, it looks like magnets? That's interesting. And use this as a fan. Ooh, it's hot. Yeah, I actually like this as a fan. This looks great. Get that out of there. Cool red power switch, a Wi-Fi indicator, and this little doodad, it looks like it's like a special communication port. Well, it looks like it's a little bit smaller dustbin. I think it's around maybe 300 milliliters, not 100% sure. But don't worry, it has self-emptying. And here's what I guess empty out the dirt is right out there, and your filter. Check it out. Laser system. It has the 3D lasers on the side with the 3D camera in the front there. And there's also a regular camera so you can see what the robot sees. They're color coded. They should just snap right in. Red to red, green to green. And the mopping pad should just go right down here. They just kind of flop in and held on by magnets. Alright, so one thing I noticed is there is a little hole right there. That's the carpet sensor. So it serves as two purposes. When these are removed and it's just vacuuming, it will actually boost up the suction automatically. It's called a carpet boost sensor. But one thing that Ecovacs does is once the mopping pads are installed, we actually actively avoid the carpets while it's mopping. So it's a pretty cool feature. I find that super handy. In my situation where I have like slanted carpets, it really makes it nice so it's not mopping my carpets. Pretty tall. Compared to like the S7 Max V's docking station where it was kind of shorter and wider, this is definitely taller. But it has some interesting designs to it. Let's just go and pull this off and I'll show you some things I've noticed. So for starters, you have to have this little drawer here. Let's see, how do I access it? Should just pop out somehow. How do I pop out this drawer? I'll probably have to figure it out. But yeah, there's a drawer that actually pops out here. So inside is the washing system. There's actually a plate down here that will scrub the dirt off. And you actually have an auto refill system back there and also self-emptying there as well. Button right here, just press it and voila! Bag right here. This is where the bag is stored. Looks like we can't store an extra bag, which was found on the S7 Max V, but I guess having the one right here is fine. Okay, let's gonna show you. I open up the lid. You can see we got a fresh water tank, dirty water tank, and here's the hidden feature. Take a look at that, guys. We have a special brush. This should just pop out. Very cool. And this brush should do, let's see. Yep, extends so you can clean off your robot or the hair. So pretty nifty little gadget. We also have an extra set of washful mopping pads stored right there. And if you get the clean solution, you actually will get a bottle of clean solution right there as well. So very, very handy that there's a nice little storage area in between the water tank. Tank, very similar in size of like the competitors. You got your fresh water tank right here. And just make sure you don't overfill. Get the other one out. And can you guys see inside there? Nothing too much, but you can see the design of the OMNI X1. The last thing I want to show you is you plug the power in right here and you can wrap the cable around. To know more about the application, I do have a dedicated video. It's quite long, around 20 minutes, but it's just a highlight. So in the application, the map's color coded to represent different rooms, which you can edit. You can change the rooms, label the rooms. Also, you can save multiple maps, and this robot has fast mapping. So what that does, allow you to map the house within a few minutes. Okay, you can see you can change vacuum levels, water levels, you can change the sequence. So for example, want to vacuum the kitchen, living room in that order, well, you have that option.
Start customized cleaning.
Okay, let's talk about some of the downsides. So I have been testing this robot for about a month or so I have a good feeling of how the robot behaves. Now, one thing to note is the side brushes still spin too quickly. They're not as bad as the iRobot system, but I would say they do kind of scatter the debris around. Now, one thing to note is you notice the air vent, it's kind of positioned towards the bottom rear of the robot, so light debris kind of gets blown around. So be mindful of that. You might want to have the robot do a 2-sweep so it can pick up the scattered debris. Okay, so let's talk about the dual counter rotating mopping system. Even though it's a nice design and a lot of companies are following this, I think the ones that vibrate do a little bit better job. I have tested older Ecovacs models that have the vibrating mopping system and the X1 Plus, which has it, and it felt like it did a better job. Also, since the Ecovacs models do have a dedicated mopping sensor that avoids carpet, unfortunately cannot bypass that. So if you're trying to transition over carpet or vacuum carpet, you do have to physically remove the mopping pad. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the navigation. Even though it's vastly improved over previous models, I think they can still improve it slightly. Now, for example, you notice how the robot transitioned over between the two mats, kind of got confused and spun around a little bit, thinking it was stuck. Now, it did take a little bit longer for it to figure out where it's at, and it kind of went back to the same location. While this isn't a huge deal, if you're spending a premium, I really think it should be top-notch and almost perfect in the navigation department. Well, the big question is the X1 OMNI right for me? Should I get it? Well, I think it really is up to you. I'm not going to tell you to get it just because it's the most advanced robot vacuum out there or the best performing. Everyone has different situations and different household needs. But if you really want the robot vacuum that literally does everything but the kitchen sink, from self-emptying, self-washing, has the ability to auto-dry the mopping pad and refill its water tank, well, the X1 OMNI is literally the only robot vacuum I currently know of that has all those features built in. Okay, so you can see there's some Rice Krispies in that dust tank. So let's see how well the self-emptying system works. Well, I would say the X1 OMNI's self-emptying system is one of the quietest out there. I can't really say self-emptying is quiet, but if I had to pick, I would go with this guy. Okay, so let's see how much debris is left in the dustbin. Well, it looks like there's still some debris in the dustbin. I would say it's not the most powerful, but it's not the worst. But just from day-to-day operations, the self-emptying system was able to keep up with the dirt in the dustbin. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a big old like. It does help out my video. Also, if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe if you're interested in these types of robots. I do try to get different robot vacuums on this channel. Also, I do some different product reviews as well. So I have some interesting products coming down the pipeline. All right, so have a great rest of your day. Be safe out there. I'll see you guys next time. Adios.